Today I think it's a great time to bring or to start a section in my channel that I've been having on the Spanish channel as well, and it's called of META NUKER. Basically I have a lot of these champions that are nukers, that are in theory pretty good champions. We just don't see them anywhere, we don't see them in arena, and normally they always fly a bit under the radar, not because they're bad champions, just because they're not meta. Today let's gonna have a look at CHAAGUR, which is a champion that's been around us for a long time. I pulled him a couple of months ago, and I think since then he's been living in my vault. I haven't used him for pretty much anything. He's a kind of a weird champion, and today we're gonna see him a bit more in depth and try to understand his kit. Let's have a look at him. Hi, Senda here and welcome to another raid video. In this case, we're not in the test server, we're in my account. Like I said, I pulled this champion a long time ago, but it's been sitting on my vault for a while. Not because it's a bad champion, it's actually quite fun to use, but it just doesn't find any use in my roster. It doesn't hit hard enough to bring him to the arena. And compared to other champions from the same faction, also Void Legendaries, he's a bit of a, call it disappointment. In this case, we're gonna have a look at one of the 5 Void legendaries that we have this faction, and to be honest, I mean, having the competition, Ramantu, Chris, Sulfurion, Fady, CHAAGUR is kind of the ugly brother. I mean, it's the bad one of all 5, and I really hope that at some point Plarium revisits him and gives him a bit of love that I think it deserves, because in terms of skin, I think it's a pretty cool skin, and he could do a bit better. In a sense, is also a bit of a weird champion, because normally, and it's something that I always like to point out in my videos, is in terms of stats. There's champions who are specifically designed to deal damage, which are like the so-called nukers, and we can see them, for example, just by having a look at the critical damage of the champion. 63% is a good indication that this champion is designed to deal damage. Same with Theox, 63% is also a pretty good indication. And the opposite, champions that are not supposed to deal damage, that is not their role to deal damage, normally have crit rate, crit damage of 50%. We can see Sulfurion, again, is not a DPS or is not a nuker, his damage comes from HP burn, and then activated, again 50%, and then we have some limbo in the middle, and this is where CHAAGUR comes in, which only has a 57 critical damage number, which means it's a bit in between. Is he able to put damage? Maybe. Is he able to be a support and apply debuffs? Maybe also. That's kind of exactly his role. He's there for both things. He's able to deal damage and also to apply a couple of useful debuffs. Useful up to a certain extent, because in the late game it's not going to shine, because we're going to have a lot of better poisoners, a lot of better sleepers or kind of crowd control champions, and in terms of damage is not going to surpass any of the existing meta or any of the current champions that they exist nowadays. Keep in mind, and like I always say in these videos, that this is the champion right now. This is how the champion looks at the moment of filming and uploading this video. That doesn't mean that in a couple of months, or hopefully, I mean, a couple of years or a couple of months, hopefully the sooner the better, they're going to revisit him, they're going to do a rework, and he's going to be much stronger than it is at the moment. But as it is at the moment, this is what we're going to see, and we're going to see that he lacks in a couple of places. This is not a full guide of the champion, so let's go quickly over his kit. Basically, ideally, he will start with A2, has 2 hits, AoE attack. The first hit will apply a poison of 4 turns, which is interesting, and the second hit, 75% chance of a decreased defense. This is the first red flag in a sense for me, because it would make much more sense. The first hit you apply decreased defense, the second hit you apply the poison. Why? Because the second hit will hit harder than the first one, because the enemy already will have decreased defense. So this skill already would be a good idea to tweak it a bit. The A3 is also again interesting skill, attacks one enemy, then attacks one time at random. Normally at random, I'm not a big fan of skills that hit at random. If the target is under a poison debuff, will ignore shield, block damage and unkillable, which is cool, is fine, but I'm missing here something like an ally protection, will ignore, I don't know, stone skin, something a bit more meta nowadays. And grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy, which is great, either by the first hit or the second hit, and also resets the cooldown of the Venom Storm, which is what we've just seen. the A2, if this skill kills 2 enemies. The problems I see in this skill is first the thing I mentioned, that it doesn't fully ignore everything, and the second one is the fact that we're not ignoring defense, we don't have any sort of deal extra damage if the enemy is under poison. So the first thing as a condition, if the target is under poison, then it does this, and the second condition is if you kill 2 enemies, then it resets this skill. If you attack one enemy, that enemy doesn't have poison, or the enemies don't have any poison, and also we don't manage to kill them, is a bit of a let down skill coming from a void legendary. And the A1 attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a sleep. This is gonna work really well with his passive. For now, sleep is not the most attractive debuff for controlling, because then you hit the enemies and you wake them up. If this would be, I don't know, stun or something like that, I think it will be way more interesting, way more fun, but it's not the case. But it all makes sense with his passive, that basically instantly attacks enemies with the default skill whenever they receive damage from poison debuffs placed by this champion. In this case, we're gonna right before they attack, as soon as they take a turn, they receive damage from the poison, CHAAGUR is gonna jump on them and attack them on the A1. If it lands the sleep, the enemy falls asleep and misses the turn, which is pretty cool. And also the A1 hits pretty hard. When hitting enemies under poison, heals this champion 10% of the damage inflicted. Again, it will be cool if he will be ignoring defense, or it will deal 15% more damage if the enemy is under poison, or something along this line. After all, I mean, at the end, aura attack in all battles 33%. It's not bad, but it's not mind-blowing. And in terms of stat, I always like to have a look at them. You can see it has a very low HP. It's a very weak champion. The attack is okay, is decent, is average. The defense is slightly maybe above average. Speed 100, super average, and then that's the thing, 57%, whether you want it or not, is gonna make a bit of a difference, and you're gonna see that he doesn't hit that hard. So I'm gonna show you first my CHAAGUR. It's not full nuker, it's exactly designed or exactly geared for that middle ground type of role, which is applying debuffs, having some utility, and at the same time being able to deal certain damage. Is not close to actual nuker damage, like it could be Thor, like it could be He-Man, like it could be Rey, like it could be any actual DPS, but has certain utility and is going to hit harder and extra with that interaction between the A3 with the poisons and the launching with the A1 and applying the sleep. In this case, I've geared him with a toxic set, just because that way I'm able to apply even more debuffs, even more poisons, which is really good for the passive. I can hit directly on the A3. If this places any of the poisons from the set, it will also take into consideration the passive. So it's pretty cool, just because in his kit we only have one skill with the poison, which would mean we need to first start with this. It kind of forces us to start with this, and then we'll kind of play a bit more with the rest of the skills and the passive. In terms of blessings, I went for Nature's Wrath. It's a bit of an odd choice, but because we're going to be placing a lot of debuffs, I thought it would be a good idea. Also, I don't have all the 6 stars. Probably with 6 stars, you'll go like any other champion. Crushing Rancid 6 stars is the way to go for the nukers, but that's the thing, he's not a full really nuker. And in terms of masteries, like I said, I don't use him. He's been sitting on the vault for forever, but at least this one will make him ignore a bit of defense, so probably extra damage, and then just looking for a bit more of accuracy over here. Nothing too crazy. In terms of relic, this one is a rare. It gives us a bit of crit damage. It can deal a bit more damage. Nothing too crazy. And in terms of stats, the classic: critical damage, attack, critical rate, critical damage, attack percentage, more accuracy, speed, critical rate, critical damage. Pretty standard, pretty average. In terms of final stats, you can see that it's not the highest attack nuker, not bad in terms of speed, crit damage, crit rate, and accuracy. I think it's pretty balanced. We're gonna have a look at him in the arena. I think it's a fun place because, I mean, when you come to the late game, the only place where you can really see poisons being used is probably the Dragon's Lair. Thing is, Dragon's Lair hard difficulty, he's gonna be very weak because this guy hits pretty hard. The Golem is immune, Minotaur's Labyrinth is not a challenge for anyone. Spider, kind of the same, is not very difficult, not in the normal mode or the hard mode. Fire Knight, he is not his place, he has nothing to do there. Sun Devil Necropolis could be arguable because of the A1 and the sleep, but there is much better sleeper options. And Phantom Shogun, again, poison not really relevant. His kit doesn't really make much sense, so I think we could see him more used, or at least in a bit more of a fun version of him in the arena. And for it, the way I'm going to try and the way I'm going to show it is just with these three guys. Why? Because I only need to start first, block enemy skills, and then we're going to see him shine. We're going to be able to apply the poisons, we're going to be able to see this A3 that can kill 2 enemies, extra turns, and we're going to see how hard the A1 hits. Spoiler alert, is not going to be crazy because I don't have any set or anything that will allow me to ignore defense, and that makes a bit of a difference. Also, the fact that I'm able to apply poisons and decrease defense and sleep, it's a ship magnet. I mean, it's going to make me very, very vulnerable to being transformed into a ship. In this case, let's see how it unfolds. Okay, so I start. Let's have a look at the A2, which we do double hit. We place decreased defense and poison, and as you can see, I mean 21, 23. The damage is not great. The damage is very, very average. And what I want to show you here is this Arbiter, as you can see, has a poison. As soon as she takes a turn, and she has 2 poisons actually, one from the A2 and one from the set. As soon as she takes a turn, CHAAGUR is gonna jump with his passive and is gonna A1. And the good thing is the passive doesn't have cooldown, so every time an enemy that has a poison applied by himself takes a turn, I'm gonna jump and I'm gonna hit them. And that hit is not bad, that hit is pretty cool. See, she took a turn and then I just jumped, 37. The A1 is very underwhelming, but it gets the job done because it's kind of free attack, and also if I place a sleep on the A1, the enemy automatically loses the turn. It will be busted if that sleep, it will be 100%, but also it makes sense that it's not. And it will be even more fun if instead of a sleep, it would be a stun. Well, it wouldn't make a difference if it would be a stun, because the enemy is about to lose the turn anyways. But some sort of control, maybe a bit harder than the current sleep. As you can see, I mean, team power doesn't matter, nothing matters. I just wanted to show you how this guy works, and the way of doing that in a fun-ish way is doing that. Let's see if I'm faster than this one. I should be, unless she's incredibly fast. But basically what I want to go is, I want to go first, I want to lock them down, and then maybe they're a bit harder to kill, a bit stronger, so we can see a bit more, or a couple more times, the A2 and the... Yeah, he's faster than me. That's weird. Well, because probably she's geared with the Arbiter gear, and then Odin gives them like a very, very powerful area for speed on arena. Now I put them on lockdown. The only thing I can do is poison and decrease defense AoE. I mean, I am not gonna kill them, but I can probably put poisons, and by the time they take a turn, I can put them to sleep, and that way they can lose a turn. I mean, here you can see Nishak would have died. I attack him, but I don't kill him, so he's able to A1 me. Then Odin attacks me, and I put him to sleep, so he loses the turn. Or he will lose the next turn, which is cool, okay. Then I could try to A2, but I'm not gonna do it, because I would wake up Odin, and I don't want that. So let's go and hit this Lady Noel here. Now, who else takes turn? You. Attack A1, would kill her, but it didn't kill her, just because of the unkillable that she forced Santa to put. No problem, I kind of keep recovering here. I go again, put him again to sleep. This is pretty fun. Santa goes, I attack him, but I don't put him to sleep, so he will be able to hit me. Hits on the shield, no problem. Bombs attack. We have 2 sleeping here. He still has 1 turn, but Odin, I can kill him. But I'm not gonna go for him, I'm gonna let CHAAGUR deal with him. There she goes, Lady Noel takes turn again, go back to sleep right away. Here goes the rat. I don't put him to sleep. He does A1, I'm not scared about that A1, but I have already 3 enemies here that could go down on the ground. So I could choose who I want to kill. The problem is this attack an enemy at random. If this attack at random goes for Santa, won't kill him. If he goes to any of the others, I will kill them. So first for the main objective, as you can see, 1, 2 down, I kill them, and then I get an extra turn, and here I go, Odin out. And now that's it, they cannot revive. I really doubt they'll kill me. And as soon as they take a turn, I'm gonna A1 them again, I'm gonna put them to sleep. No, he doesn't go to sleep, but he smacks me. Not too hard, so I'm able to, there you go. A2, A1 and on the ground. As you can see, it has some control, but the control, even though it's very fun, is not always gonna proc. And that's a bit the problem. It doesn't ignore unkillable, which would be really cool. And maybe I could have tried to force the unkillable, because I think I do ignore unkillable on day 3 if the enemy has a poison. Again, for example, against enemies with the Stag Knight, no, with the Undead Knight, Ultimate Death Knight, that's the name of the guy, Ultimate Death Knight, I'm gonna struggle and I'm gonna have a lot of problems, because every time an enemy takes a turn and also has a poison, I'm gonna attack with the A1, I'm gonna try to put them to sleep, but that attack is constantly gonna go against the Death Knight, which is not ideal. So probably better not pick the UDK teams, just because they're gonna be very annoying. Let's try this one. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be faster. If I'm faster, it will be fun, and if they don't have stone skin, also would be fun. First, that's cool. I lock them with day 3, and now here I go. I have two options. I can either jump on the A1 and on the A3 and try to kill an enemy. And if I kill the second one, it's extra, but as long as I kill one, I'll get an extra turn. So I'm gonna get out of this way this guy. 33 is really low damage. Like I said, the enemy doesn't have poison, doesn't have decreased defense, doesn't have weaken, doesn't have anything. So in terms of damage, really low, but at least I kind of got a threat out of the way. I can A2, apply poison, decrease defense. She's gonna take a turn at some point. And I'm gonna jump on the A1 and I'm gonna put her to sleep. There you go, put her to sleep, and then that's about it. That's about it, game over. So it's quite decisive, the fact that I put them to sleep, but also it's not for granted. And also I'm lucky here that none of them has polymorph, but also applying a lot of this poison and decreased defense and polymorphs is a very dangerous game. I think with that we'll cover this kind of mini guide on CHAAGUR, why he's not meta. I just enumerated all the possible errors, all the possible things that could go wrong. The damage is not great. I said I was gonna show you a bit in the test server how much of a damage it is, but it's not that much. It's not gonna be any closer to any of the other nukers. I think Alice hits probably a bit harder than him. Wukong hits way harder, and of course not even comparing him with Thor or not even comparing him with Georgit. They hit it in a different league, but they don't have the utility of the sleep. But also this sleep comes with downsides. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you found this video fun. Let me know also in the comments what kind of champions, what other champions could be featured in this section. Over here I'll leave a recommended video in case you want to have a look after this one. Thanks a lot for watching the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.